Hello, this is Paul Humber, and I want to talk about something that happened less than 4 days, or about 4 days ago, maybe a little more than 4 days ago. This is the 28th of June 2017, and this happened on the 24th, so about 4 days ago. And there's a picture of my son in the front and myself in the back in a canoe last Saturday. And my wife of 51 years took the picture as Peter and I were moving out on our planned 10-mile trip along the Swatara Creek, or maybe more properly called river, especially on Saturday when it was so full of water. We were going from Humbertown, Pennsylvania to Middletown, the region near Harrisburg. However, had received a lot of recent rain, and the water was flooding banks and very rapid. It was, to put it bluntly, dumb of me to proceed with the trip, but the weather on June 24th was enticing. It was even dumber of me not to bring the sponsons. They likely would have prevented us from capsizing. Anyway, we proceeded on the plans to travel an estimated 10 miles along the Swatara Creek. Some paddling was necessary as the water was rapid and the canoe needed to be kept properly aligned. Notice in the photo that the water was very muddy and does not appear to be moving rapidly. It was moving rapidly, but it especially was noticeable when the canoe came to the narrows. We made it safely for about 7 miles and also had done some unsuccessful fishing. Eventually we came to a region of narrowing. Peter, my son, said we were coming to a dam, but I had not read of a dam in that area. The water, however, was becoming very turbulent. There were many warning buoys in the water which were struggling against the current to keep above water level. Rather than venture further into the unknown, we had never been in this river before, I directed the canoe toward some hanging tree branches on the right side. This is not the location that you see in the picture. This was soon after we started. Both Peter and I grabbed for some of these branches, hoping to stop the canoe. But the canoe quickly slipped away from under our bodies. The rapid water won. We were hanging on branches with legs in the water. I'm glad Peter was further in toward the bank, as he is not as good a swimmer. We both had on life vests, but dared not let go of our branches. Pulling on my branches to get my body closer to Peter, I succeeded in getting my feet resting on the river bottom. Moving even closer to Peter, I made sure he was holding and eventually told him I was standing. He also was soon able to stand, and we both carefully moved toward the bank, leaving the canoe, paddles, fishing lines. My glasses fell off my face, and the airtight bag that contained Peter's cell phone, in which all of them continued traveling downriver. Once on the riverbank, we could no longer see our canoe. Venturing through poison ivy, we ascended high enough to get to railroad tracks seen by the dotted line in the map. You can see the river, and there's a little dotted line to the left of it. Priority, after securing our own safety, was calling bird-watching Prudence. She's my wife. According to plan, we were to rendezvous at the railroad bridge, and I envisioned her seeing a canoe drifting under with no hubby or son in sight. There was a 6-foot chain-link fence to go over so we could get to someone who had a cell phone. We eventually met Dawn of Middletown point where you can see the point on the map. My wife, who happily had not seen a capsized canoe drifting under a bridge, was contacted. She drove Peter's truck to our location, being in Middletown herself, maybe a mile or so away. We went to report to the Middletown Police. There's what it looks like. But being Saturday, there were not many on patrol, maybe only one officer, and he was involved in chasing down a thief, thus could not come right away. Well, we decided to drive downstream to find a boat person who could maybe help us locate the canoe. His name was Claude Whitman, and he was willing to help. That's across the street from his house. He has a nice house, and across the street he has a place where he puts his boat, and you really can't. This is a picture from off MapQuest or something, or a V-Pike. But that's what it looked like in his canoe. His boat was down there, motorboat, was down there sort of in the lower left. Peter and I used a 5-gallon bucket to dump out much of the water, as there was a fair amount of rain that had happened, as I mentioned. At some point, he and I prayed together for the Lord's help. Claude, with us, traveled all the way upstream, maybe 2 to 3 miles, to where we had capsized the canoe, but found nothing. We did not see it either on the return trip. You can imagine that 3 sets of eyes were really searching. In fact, he motored some distance beyond his own place going south, thinking the canoe might have gone past that way to the Susquehanna River, which was actually, we were right there almost at the Susquehanna River, and there was no evidence there either. Then we got a call from the police officer who at the headquarters, so we traveled to see him. He apologized for being so late, telling us about a thief on the loose, but he said he had contacted 3 volunteers from the fire department, there's the image, to help locate our canoe. They arrived, 3 firemen, at the police station. I mistakenly said that I did not think it was now necessary for them to search in view of the fact that Claude, Peter, and I had not found it. They decided to go anyway, on their own. Peter, Prudence, and I decided to go to a dam area even further south. We met some fishermen who led Peter and me on a half-mile walk to a dam on the Susquehanna. But trusty Prudence remained with the truck. While Peter and I were gallivanting, she received a call that the canoe had been found by the firemen and could we get to the location in 15 minutes. She traveled and yelled for her 2 men, succeeding in that. She drove us to the boat ramp area. I had not been driving because, again, my glasses had been lost in the capsizing. Sure enough, it was our canoe. Of course, this is a picture taken earlier in the day. And it even had the better of 2 paddles still with it and a fishing rod. More importantly, to Peter's delight, the airtight bag was there too, with his cell phone inside. Opening it, he found his phone still working. Did the Lord answer our prayers, or what? Not only did he save this imperfect spokesman and writer and precious Peter, but he even put icing on Peter's birthday cake. It was his birthday, 32nd birthday. Thank you, Lord Jesus, for your long-suffering usward and tender mercies. More recently, this week, I wrote to the boatman Claude and his wife Michelle these words: "Thank you again for helping my son and me. The Lord talks about going the extra mile. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. In Matthew 5:41. Well, we did not force you, but you willingly helped. As I told you, the canoe was found. Maybe it was at the Grub Street Bridge." I also wrote to fireman Sean and telephone owner Don. 4 books have been mailed out so far, 2 by my dad and 2 of mine. Who knows but what one reason for all this is that the Lord wanted some of these people hearing the good news about the Lord's entering this world 2,000 years ago. Yes, I also gave monetary funds to the firefighters and sent a check to Claude. The Lord has his ways. Perhaps in heaven I will learn all the ramifications of this episode. In the meantime, I should thank him for his mercies and try to learn more at age almost 75. In addition to the above, perhaps the Lord wants me to put out a warning on YouTube for those tempted like I was to go into a flooding river. I had experience teaching canoeing, for example, down in Virginia in '63. You can see me there flipping, showing how to unswamp a canoe. That was in 1963. I taught campers how to unswamp the canoe. In the image, I am the one on the far right. I also taught both sailing and canoeing to campers in Maine the summer before. To the left, I am holding the mast. Long ago, the Lord warned about a global flood. Everything capsized except those in the Ark of Safety. We have recently heard about the need for draining the swamp in Washington, but there is a far bigger swamp to drain. Some future day the Lord is returning and will drain the global swamp of corruption and evil. There is a place of safety for us too, the arms of Creator Christ. He is the great shepherd and cares for his sheep. He cared for my son Peter and me last Saturday, and he will care for his own when he returns to this earth. Be careful about going out onto flooding rivers in a canoe. But most importantly, humble your heart before the one who died on the cross to wash away our sins. He offers his perfect robe of righteousness, far better than a safety vest, to all who will humbly receive it. I received it in 1950. What was your year? Or will this be your year? Read about his righteousness becoming our righteousness in Jeremiah 23:6. Peter is employed with the Philadelphia Police Department, caring for horses of the mounted unit. Here he is in his truck, the same one that carried the canoe. Prudence, you can see her there on the right, pink blouse. Since retirement, has been actively involved with families of both churches we attend. I serve as director of CR Ministries and occasionally put up videos on YouTube. I also have authored books and booklets. Want one? Free? Write to me at paulhumber@verizon.net. Thanks for watching, and be ready for Jesus when he returns.